Oh, ah! Where are the other drugs going? I don't know what you're talking about. I said, where are the other drugs going? I don't know where they are. I swear. Swear to me. Ah! You sure you're not on drugs? You want my opinion? You need to lighten up. Hello everyone, and welcome to my much delayed review of Batman Begins. Yes, the first chapter of Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, which I am rewatching in prep for these reviews. Obviously, this Batman Begins. This is the first one. This is the origin story of Batman. This is the reboot. So, how does it fare? Well, let's get onto that later. The plot synopsis. Basically, after a traumatic event, after the traumatic death of his parents, Bruce Wayne decides to, basically, after, wanting revenge, he decides to basically exile himself, and then he becomes a ninja. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Batman goes to train with the Academy of Ninjas. Hi! Yeah, so after it kind of goes on from there. It's about his personal journey, Bruce Wayne, and how he sort of he becomes a ninja, and he comes back to Gotham in the hope to kind of free it from its corrupt state. It's sort of being run by kind of a crime lord, Falcone, who sort of was responsible for Bruce's parents' death, and the guy that murdered his parents is in connection with the crime gang, and Bruce Wayne decides to use the trauma of his parents' death to overcome his fears and become the Batman, which is awesome, Christian Bale plays Batman here, and he's really good. The plot, it's and it goes on from there. He has to stop, the Scarecrow and Ra's al Ghul from, releasing a hallucinogen that will basically choke Gotham to death, so they can take it over. It all links in eventually. It's a big story, so if I've missed anything out, I apologise. But Batman Begins, this movie is fantastic. It really is. I mean, for one thing, I think it's fair to say that even from the first 5 minutes of this film, you can tell puts Joel Schumacher's movies out of the window. This movie's fantastic. You can tell that Christopher Nolan has really done his homework here. He's basically revived the franchise by like 100 gears. He's really oomphed it up, and the plot is clever. It's very well directed. It's directed good, really well. I really like the acting. Christian Bale is terrific as Batman. He's. I love the kind of what people are calling the throat cancer voice. I think that works because he's trying to cover his identity. I mean, I agree with Jeremy Jahns when he says Bruce Wayne. So Christian Bale potentially has to play 3 different characters, which is Batman, of course, and Bruce Wayne, the normal Bruce Wayne, and the other Bruce Wayne who doesn't act like he doesn't give a fuck. When he tells everyone to get out of his party, and he insults them, he does it for their own safety, but he does it so that his cover won't be blown. And it kind of goes on from there, really. His identity, he does a good job of covering himself up. Michael Caine as Alfred, Very good. Adds some good comic timing without taking away from the seriousness and the grittiness of the story. Speaking of gritty, the action. Oh my gosh. The action is superb. The movie's 2 hours 20 minutes long. I mean, there's not much action like during the first half, but there is a fair bit. You know, the movie's really well paced, and you know you enjoy the build up. You know, the first hour of this movie is a build up. I mean, there is like one action scene in there, but halfway through the build up, you know, when Bruce Wayne has the sword fight with that guy who is Ra's al Ghul, so to speak. Excuse me. And yeah, it kind of goes on from there. Really. Yeah, the action is spectacular, and you know the climax is awesome as well. And I love the car chase. That's really cool as well. Even just some of the other fights, like when Batman's the first appearance of Batman is terrific. Like the build up was worth it because it's like, you know, we built up to this moment when, you know, Batman actually appears. And you're like, this makes the appearance a lot more gratifying. I mean, people complain in The Dark Knight Rises that Batman, you know, it takes ages for Batman to appear, but it takes 53 minutes before we see Batman in this film. So, yeah, the build-up is good. I mean, from the very first, 5-10 minutes, Christopher Nolan manages to engage the audience emotionally. Like, the death of the parents was done very well, and, you know, enhanced more highly by, you know, the score composed by Hans Zimmer and James Newton Howard. The score is so good. I mean, wow, it's really good. I mean, it's so good. And I love the end credits theme. I love it, you know, and it very much the same for all three films. But the best rendition of the end credits theme is the Dark Knight's one. I'll talk about that in the Dark Knight review. Production design is absolutely brilliant. There is very little CGI here, and that is what is most admirable about this. There is very little CGI. It's all practical effects for the most part. The only CGI shots are really just the establishing shots of Gotham and kind of background shots of Gotham. Yeah, they're just Gotham really, nothing else. The villains. There's actually two villains here. There's Ra's al Ghul, played by Liam Neeson, who is absolutely terrific. Liam Neeson he's brilliant in most things he's in, but in here, this is definitely one of his best performances. He's great. I think he's lost a lot of weight for this part. You know, he lost quite a fair bit of weight. What else? Yes, the Scarecrow. Sorry, I'm yawning. The Scarecrow, I really liked him. Cillian Murphy, he is very, very good. I really like, you know, his he's sort of creepy. He's very kind of deceptive. I don't know, something about him. He's just very eerie. Like, he doesn't necessarily say much, but then again, his sorry, that's my Facebook. He only cameos in the next two films, so yeah. It's very dark. This is not a kids' film, partly because the plot would be a bit complicated for them to understand. But yeah, you really fall into this. It's almost like a kind of like a crime film. I mean, it's much continued in The Dark Knight, but this is this is probably the best reboot of any film I've ever seen. You know, this is definitely 100 times better than the Joel Schumacher films. I love how clever the story is. Like, you know, there's a lot of good things there's a lot of good links that Christopher Nolan has put in there with the plot, and really works. And this movie does look terrific on Blu-ray, so pick it up if you have Blu-ray. This is the definitive Batman origin story in terms of films. I prefer this to the original Tim Burton one. Sorry, but you know, that's just me. It's a long film. It's 2 hours 20 minutes, but it moves along at a good old pace, and it's fine. I mean, I loved seeing the flashbacks. The flashbacks were great, like when he was a kid, and then when he went to train as a ninja. The movie does start out fairly non-linear, but then it progressively gets linear as it goes on. I really, really like this. This movie it's quite a personal film, so it's a very kind of... Essentially, I see the Dark Knight trilogy as one big piece of film. Like, it's about one man who makes a big change in his life, and that change kind of slowly affects what happens in his life as it goes along. Like, I'll talk more about that in the next two reviews as well, of The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. Yeah, I don't really have many complaints with the film. My only real complaints is that really the Scarecrow wasn't really in it much. I mean, I like the Scarecrow a lot. I mean, I'm just saying he wasn't really in it much. And Katie Holmes she was okay. It's not that her acting was bad. It was just that for some reason she didn't really feel like she belonged with the cast. I don't know why. Like, I mean, they recast her in The Dark Knight with Maggie Gyllenhaal, and I think Maggie Gyllenhaal's better. I'll talk more about Maggie Gyllenhaal in my review of The Dark Knight. I love the suit as well. The suit as well is great in the Tumbler. Like, also Morgan Freeman, he's great. Gary Oldman as Jim Gordon, perfect. He really nails it, you know, in terms of the acting, as Jeremy Johns says. Yes. I'm trying to think of what else to say. Like, it's quite a deep film and it's quite complex. In terms of the plot, sorry, I apologise for my yawning. It's written really well by Christopher Nolan and David S. Goyer. It's very realistic. Like, what they've basically done is they've taken this franchise and they've grounded this into sort of a realistic kind of personal, like, you know, this is a real guy. Batman doesn't actually have any superpowers. His power comes basically from his motivation and his drive. That trauma of his parents drives him to want to save Gotham. He has the technology, basically, kind of like Iron Man, but obviously a bit less of a philanthropist. He's a millionaire though. It's a very kind of emotionally engaging film. It's very good. Yeah, in the end, I don't really have much else to say about it. Before I go and give my rating, I have a little friend popping in, and that is Mr. Ultimate Whovian, who is a big fan of this trilogy. I've asked him to do a segment for me, giving his sort of summary about what he thinks of Batman Begins. Actually, I might as well rate what I think of it now. I'm probably going to give this definite 10 out of 10. I mean, I think this movie is brilliant. The directing is very good as well by Christopher Nolan. He's very good at directing. It just all flows nicely, the plot, and it's the origin story. So, you know, then boy does the next movie crank everything up, you know, The Dark Knight. But yeah, no, okay. Before I fall asleep, I'll hand you over to Mr. Ultimate Whovian. Take it away, Adam.
Years of the Batman. No, not that. Anyway, covering that bit up, I'm going to be looking into the Christopher Nolan reboot of just that mess from 1997. Anyway, Batman Begins, the reboot, and tells a origin story for Bruce Wayne becoming the Batman. I think Christopher Nolan has been fantastic with the visual style of Gotham, the mountains and the ninja training facility that Bruce Wayne trained up, the locations and settings and kind of CGI Gotham has never looked better. 2005 was that year where he gave us slick action sequences and amazing visuals. Thank you, Christopher Nolan, for doing this. He's done some low budget stuff before, but he's pretty much gone out and say, "Look at me, I'm doing the goddamn Batman movie." I like how the storytelling is done. I like how, Bruce Wayne is pretty much journeying to find out his destiny, getting this flower and taking it up to find out what is destined for him. If he made himself more than just the man, the Batman, if he just went and he'd gone and fight. I love how he's doing this journey, but we're getting flashbacks to his childhood, to how his parents, were shot, and how he lived it out his life. I think it's great, and it really shows that Bruce Wayne's kind of the fault of taking his family to a play, and they end up getting shot. I think it is absolutely brilliant, that portion. I like Christian Bale's Bruce Wayne. I think there are many aspects where he's questioned for his destiny, the billionaire, and the Batman, pretty much. He's pretty much playing three characters in one movie, and I think Christian Bale does that immensely. How we're getting different versions of Bruce Wayne, how he's brooding, how he's pretty much in the Batsuit, and how, he's the billionaire. I think it's excellent. The billionaire stuff is all bullshit. When he's like, guy who dresses up like a bat clearly has issues. I just love that because, you just boom, and then, but deep down, that he is those eyes, the vengeance. I'm Batman. I think Batman is one of my favourite superheroes, and to see that origin story unfold with one of the greatest directors ever is pretty much a gift from Morgan Freeman, who's in the movie with Michael Caine. Michael Caine's great as Alfred. He's definitely a much better Alfred than, in my opinion, Michael Gough. Just because of his relationship and everything. I think that's evolved throughout the trilogy and has been great. Morgan Freeman, I mentioned, awesome. He's just Morgan. I don't even see him as Lucius Fox. I see him as just Morgan Freeman helping out Batman. I refuse to see Lucius Fox. I know that he was a character in the comics, but he's Morgan Freeman, for God's sake. But Gary Oldman, I love Gary Oldman. I think since these movies, and I think he's a brilliant actor and is a great Commissioner Gordon. I wish I saw, a bit more of him. I really wanted more Gordon because he's great. He's shouty when he needs to be, and I think that's great. I love, who else? Cillian Murphy's alright, pretty good as Scarecrow. I don't think nothing noteworthy, but still good. Liam Neeson is awesome. That voice of CNN, Lion King, and Aslan. That was it. And just he's the voice of Irish God, and he's brilliant. Such a incredible voice, powering an overpowerful character, and he's such a great villain. Katie Holmes, but it's all about trying to stop the city from this gas that people are inhaling and these drugs that people are taking, and then it makes the city terrible, and that's not a good thing. So Batman has to have an epic Tumblr chase sequence and a epic showdown with Ra's al Ghul to make sure that shit never happens in Gotham like that again. And my god, is the cinematography and camera work absolutely flawless. Dear me. Well, yeah, I think this is a subliminally told origin story for Batman. I think it's brilliant. 9 out of 10 simply because I know Katie Holmes is really just the MacGuffin of a female character. I think she's pretty much evolved and better as the trilogy goes on, and what a fantastic trilogy it is. You, my friends, watching not Mr. Ultimate Whovian, but Mr. TARDIS 11, are going to be in for a treat with epic reviews of the three. I wish I could be there to talk about the epicness of The Dark Knight and how Heath Ledger has been brilliant, and how, I make the Bane jokes, just on The Dark Knight Rises, so you're going to get that. And, well, I'm going to probably go put on my Batman costume and pretty much wander around the house being epic, and oh, Marvel. Although there's the Man of Steel Blu-ray 3D thing over there. Oh, what's this? Bow tie. Bow ties are cool. And I put it on my head. So yeah, thank you for watching this video. This part of the review, and well, see yous.
Thank you very much, Mr. UltimateWhovian, for that segment. You are awesome, forever. So yeah, I gave this a 10 out of 10. I hope. Do you agree with my rating? You know, what do you think of Batman Begins? Do post a comment down below. Let's compare and contrast opinions. I mean, yeah, minor flaws, but overall, really, really great film. You know, people say, oh, you know, where's the action in this? Well, you don't actually need action to make a superhero film. You need a great story and a great character. If your main character sucks, then your superhero film's going to be crap. But this is great. I mean, Bruce Wayne's a great character, and this movie couldn't really have gone any better, I have to say. Yeah, it's very interesting. So, oh, sorry. Okay, before I literally fall asleep, I will end this now. So yeah, next time I'm going to be reviewing The Dark Knight, which is the second chapter of this trilogy, where there will be a segment also from Labyrinth 35. He is going to be joining me in that review, giving his summarised thoughts. And for the Dark Knight Rises review, Parachute Walker will be giving his brief thoughts on that as well. I thought, you know, 3 movies, 3 subscribers, 3 opportunities, why miss it? It's different as well, you know, so adds diversity. And by the way, I won't be doing a ranking video of all of these because 1, there's only 3 films, and 2, they're very hard to rank. I'll give a rough list at the end of the Dark Knight Rises review. But yeah, no, if you haven't seen this, go see it. I mean, what a way to open a trilogy. It's great. The first chapter to probably one of the best trilogies ever made. It's definitely the best superhero trilogy ever made. So yeah, that's my review of Batman Begins. That's, you know, roughly what I think. There's so much to say, but I'm tired and I can't remember everything, and it would take me too long. So yeah, once again, thanks to Mr. UltimateWhovian, and thank you guys for watching. And as always, I'm Mr. Thomas11. See ya.